Hello and welcome to this session. I'm Raghav and you can find all my work on my website automationstepbystep.com, and in this session I'm going to go very basic step by step and we are going to learn different web element strategies and functions in Selenium. This is going to be very easy and very interesting, and do not worry if you have never used any of these functions or strategies. I will tell you step by step. So we are going to learn how to find element and how to find a list of elements in Selenium, how to find an element within an element. We are also going to see how do we get an active element and then we can get the properties or do some action on the active element. We are also going to learn how to get element properties like tag name, text, CSS value, etc. And then we are going to see how do we check if an element is enabled or if it is selected or not. So this is going to be very interesting. Let us start with how to find element in Selenium, and this is very easy. We have already done this. We use the function find element, and let me show you a very quick demo. I will open my project. This is the same project we have been working earlier, and in my project I will go to my src test java package test package and I will create a new class. So I will say new class here and I will say web element demo. You can name it anything. So I'm saying web element demo, but avoid using any name which is used as a class name or as an object in your class. For example, I will avoid using a name like web element because this will be a class in Selenium which I will be using in my class, so that can create an issue. So web element demo is fine. I will say finish and I have got a class created, and I will also create a main method. I will say main and press Ctrl spacebar on my keyboard. I'm getting this auto suggestion and I will select this, and I will press Ctrl and plus key on my keyboard to increase the font. I hope this is now very clear to you. And now to find the element, let me very first add the code to open a browser, and this I can get from any of my earlier functions or tests. So this is the code. I just need these two lines to open the browser and I will put them here. So this will open my Chrome browser. You can use any other browser if you want to, and I'm using WebDriver Manager as we have set up in the last and earlier sessions. So now I will go to, let me say, I will also put a comment here, find elements demo or find elements, and here I will say driver.get, and I will go to some website. Let us say I will go to google.com. So I will say https://google.com, and then here when I go to google.com, so let me go here and check. So here on google.com we have so many elements. If I want to go to this search box, I will do a right click and say inspect, and here I will see the properties. So if I see here, we have got this property name equals q. I can use this. If you have an ID property, you can use that, or you can also use a XPath or CSS selector, or you can try to get with a tag name or link text, etc. So I have a name property. I can use this. I will say driver.findElement. So this is the function, and then we use by. By is again a class in Selenium library, and as I click on dot, I'm getting all these locator strategies. I can get by a CSS selector, class name, ID. So all these are available. You can see ID, link text, name, partial link text, tag name, XPath. All these options are here. I will be using a name, so I will select name here, and I will say the name is Q. And you can also see all these imports are done by the classes here by Selenium library. And then after finding, I can also do some action on this particular element, but for now let me just close here, and I will also say driver.quit to close the browser. So this is the function. We use find element, and by any of the selectors or locators we find the element, and then we can do the next action on that particular element. So let me try to run this and check. I will do a right click, run as Java application, and let's just watch. It opens the browser, goes to google.com, and yes, it was very fast. So everything was okay, but it was very fast. So let me also add some delay here. I will say thread.sleep for, let us say, 1 second. 1000 milliseconds means 1 second. And for this, I will also have to either surround this with try catch, or I can just add a throws declaration in my function here. So I am adding this. So if I now save and run again, so it opens the browser, goes to google.com, waits for a second, and closes the browser. Now I can directly do some action here. So I can start an action here, for example, send keys, and I can put something, or I can store this element into a web element type object. So I will say web element, and I can give any name, for example, search box equals this. So now I have stored this element in a variable called searchBox, which is of type WebElement. I will also have to import the WebElement from Selenium library. And now using this searchBox, I can do any action. I can say searchBox.sendKeys, and I can put something here, Selenium, and that's it. I will give a semicolon at the end because this is Java, it is important. And I will run again and check. So let's see, it opens the browser, and yes, it types Selenium, but it does not hit the search button. So let me see, this is Google search button. If I do a inspect of this again, I can check here. So these are the properties, and again I have a name property here, which is btnk. I can use this to click on this button. So I can say again driver.findElement by.name, and the name is btnk, and then I will say dot click. So this time it should also click on the Google search button after entering Selenium in the search box, and yes, this is working fine. Now we can also do it in a different way, like manually. When I say Selenium here, instead of finding the Google search button and clicking on that, I can just press enter, and it also does the work for me. The same thing I can do in automation. So after adding Selenium, I will say here plus, and I will say keys. Keys is a library in Selenium library, is a class in Selenium library. I will say keys dot, and you can see all these keys, keyboard keys that I can press. I am just using enter, so it will press enter, and this time I do not need this. So now I will check, I will run and check. So it opens the browser, and yes, you can see it writes Selenium and hits the enter key, and it is able to do the search for us. So this is how we can use FindElement to find any element on the web page. Then we can also find a list of elements, and for this we use the function findElements. And let us take this example of a different app. So I will take this example. So this is try testing this.netlify.app, and here we have lots of elements to practice. So I will go to this app, and let me just comment all this so I do not waste a lot of time. I can say this is find elements, and here I will go to driver.get, and I will give this URL here, and then I can say to get a list of elements, we should be having a list to store the elements. So in this case, we can create a list of type web elements, and then we can store the elements. Now in this case, if you see in this application, we have so many select type of elements. For example, this is a select type, this is select type. If I do a right click and say inspect, you can see here this one has a tag name select, and all these elements are under this tag name select. Similarly, all these options here, if I inspect again, you will see they all will come under the select tag name. So I can use this tag name select and then get all the elements in a list. So I can say driver dot find, and you can see we have find element and find elements. So this time I'm going to use find elements by, I will say tag name, and I will say select, and then I can also store this in a list of web elements. So I can say list of web element, and I can give any name here. For example, I can say select equals this, and I will have to import list from a library. I am using Java util here. So this will store all the select type of elements into this list called select, or let me just say elements, as we have seen in the example. I will call this as elements. So all these elements are stored in this list, and now to get these elements we can use a for loop, or we can use any loop. For loop is best here. So I can say here for, I will say for, and I will create a variable of type web element, and I will call it as element, and I will say as long as we have elements in this list, which is elements, and I'm just going to print out, I'm going to say element dot, I can get the text value maybe, and I think this is what we have used in the example here. Yes, we are printing the text value of every element in the loop. So that's it, and this is how we can get elements and then do any action. So I will try to run this, and in this case I'm just printing out the text value, but in real world you can do any action on all these elements as you wish. So you can see it is printing the text value of all the elements. So in real world there can be a situation that suppose there is a select list of elements and it is all under a particular tag name. So you can use the tag name and get all the elements in the list, and then based on the particular values or whatever index position you can do some action within the loop. So this is how we can make use of web elements or find elements in Selenium. And all this whatever I am showing you, this is all as per Selenium 4, the latest version of Selenium. So all this will work in Selenium 4. Some things are common with the earlier versions of Selenium, but I'm not doing a comparison one-on-one, but everything will work on the latest version of Selenium. So this was find elements. We will now learn how to get element from within an element, and let us again go to google.com, and before that I will comment this section. So I hope you know the comments. When I say // this is a line comment. It will comment this particular line. If you want multi-line comments, you can say /* and then end with a /*. So all these are ways of commenting here. Now I will say here find element within element, and for this I am again going to google.com. So I will say driver.get https / google.com, and then after going there I can get a particular area or a section by any of its property, like a tag name. For example, I will show you here. I am going to google.com here, and here let me go to the main page, and here if I do a right click and say inspect, you will see here there is a form here, and if I show you here, you can check. If I go here and say inspect in the search box, the search box is inside this form. You can see this form, and here when I go here and select this form, you can see the blue area on your screen that is getting highlighted, and you can see this area. This is the form area or the section, and it has the Google search box, the Google search button, I am feeling lucky button, all inside this area, which is inside this tag name form. So I can first get this form area or this element, and then within this element I can get any of these other elements which are inside the tag name form. So I can say here driver.findElement by tag name, and the tag name is form, and I can store it into a WebElement object. I will say WebElement form equals this, and now using this form I can say again find element by dot name, and I want to get the search box which has name equals q. We have already seen this. This search box has name property equals q, and then I can do any action like send keys abcd, and I will also hit the enter key. I will say keys dot enter, and that's it. So you can see this is what we have done. We have found the form, and then we have used the form object to find other element which is inside that particular object. And let me try to run this and check. So this opens the Chrome browser, goes to google.com, it found the search box within form, and then it entered ABCD and hit enter. So this is how we can find or get an element within an element. Now in this case, in this example, this may not be very useful to understand the use and functionality and advantage of this way. However, sometimes you may have multiple sections in your web application or a web page, and every section has some objects which have same properties, same name, same id, etc. In that case, you can first find a particular section, and then within that section you can find the object that you want to work with. So this is how it can be very useful. So this is how to get element from an element. Now let us learn how you can get an active element, and the function here is active element. And let us again go to google.com. So I will comment this section, and then I will say how to get active element, and I'll just copy this. We are going to google.com here, and then again we will find the search box and enter something. So let me say here driver.findElement by name, and for the search box the name property is q, and then I am saying send keys, and I will write something here, let us say Selenium. So it will write something on the search box. So this search box is what we have focus on, and it is active. So we can get this element, or we can switch to this element by saying driver.switch to, and we can use the active element function, and then we can do any action or get any attribute of this active element. So I can say driver.switch to, and I will say dot active element, and then I will say get attribute, and I can say here in the example I have used title. Let me use this here as well, and if you want you can store this in a variable of type string, and then if you want you can print it out. I will say SYSO and control spacebar to autocomplete, and I will just print the title here. So let me save and run now. It opens the browser, goes to google.com, types Selenium, and you can see in the console it has printed search, which is the title of that active element. So this is how you can find the active element, and whatever actions you want to do on the active element you can do after that. So this is how to get active element, and now we are going to learn how to get element properties like tag name, text, css, etc. So we have functions in Selenium: get tag name, get text, and get css value. So let's see a demo. I will again go to google.com, and before that I will comment out this section, and I will say here get tag name, text, css, etc. And let me just copy this from the very first example we have taken. that is going to google.com and then storing the search box in a variable called search box. And now using this variable, you can directly say driver.findElement and then add all these functions, get tag name, text, css, or in this case I have stored this web element in a variable of web element called search box. And now I can say search box dot get tag name. So this will give me the tag name of this element. I can say search box dot get text. So you can say get text. I can say search box dot get css value, and you have to give what css value you need. For example, you want font or color or whatever you want, you have to give it here. So this will give me all this, and I can print this out directly, or I can first store it into a variable called tag name here. Then this one I will store it into a variable called text here, and this I will store into a variable called font, or let us just say css value, and I will then print this out. So I will say syso control space bar, and I can say tag name, and then I will give a separator, a pipe symbol, and then I will print the text value, and then I will again give a separator, and then I will say css. I will say css control space bar to autocomplete or auto suggestion, and that's it. And now I will save and run and check. So yes, this is going to google.com, and if you see here, it has printed the tag name which is input. The text value was empty, so it did not print anything here, and this is the font. So any CSS value you want, like font or color or anything, you can print it out here. For example, if I want to check the color, I will say get CSS value color, and then again run it, and this time you can see it gives us the color value. So whatever is available, it will give it as you have mentioned here. So this is how we can get the tag name, get the text, and get the CSS value. And you can do a lot of other things with this, so you can try some hands-on. And now let us go and learn how to check if the element is enabled or disabled, or if it is selected or not selected. And we have functions is enabled and is selected to check this. So let me give you an example. So before that, I will comment this area, this section, and now here I will say check element is enabled, is selected, etc. And here I will again go to try testing this .netlify.app, this website, and here, or let me go to a better website where I can show you the difference between selected and not selected. So we have this Heroku app. We have so many options here that we can use for testing and practice. So let me search for some checkboxes. Yeah, we have checkboxes here. And here you can see, here we have two checkboxes. One of them is selected and one of them is not selected. So let us try this. I will go to this website. I will say driver.get, and I will go here. And then after going here, I will have to find this particular checkbox. If I do a right click and say inspect, so here this is of type input, and we have a type property called checkbox. Using this, I can create a XPath or a CSS selector. Let me try this. I will say driver.findElement by dot. I will create a XPath. So here it is of type input, and then we have the type property checkbox. So I will say here at within the square brackets I will say at type equals to, and within single quotes I will say checkbox. Now this will find both of these checkboxes. I want to find the first checkbox, so I can give an index position. I can put all this in a bracket like this, and then I can say I want to get index position 1. So here you can see this is how I have used it. So I am saying input at type checkbox, and then I am saying index position 1. So now let me put this in a web element type object. I will say checkbox equals this, and now I can do I can check whether enabled or disabled or selected or not selected. So I will say here checkbox dot is enabled, and I can also print this out. So I will just say SYSO, and I will put this thing inside the print statement. So this will print if it is enabled or not, and then I will say checkbox dot is selected. So we have these two functions. Now in this case, because we are working on this first checkbox, is enabled should be true because this is enabled. We can work with this, and is selected should be false. So let us check. I will save and let us run and check. So it goes to the application, and if I check the console, you can see it is saying true and false. What if I check for the second checkbox? So I just have to give the index position or change the index position to 2 here, and now I will save and run, and let us see what happens. So yes, and you can see this time this is true because it is already selected. So this is working fine, and this is how you can check whether an element is enabled or not, is selected or not. So this is how we can use all these functions, and I hope this was very useful for you. You have learned a lot of web element strategies and functions. Please do some hands-on and try yourself, and if you face any issues you can let me know, and I will try to help you as soon as I can. I will see you in the next session. Thank you for watching, and never stop learning.